Hi, this is the whale. As you can see, I'm in shadows right now, and the reason being is that it's in your best interest that the selections I give you are not known to be coming from me. I'm very well known in the casino industry for my round-robin systems and the fact that I've won a lot of money with small bankrolls in short periods of time. By not revealing my identity, this allows you to use the same system that I've had tremendous success with for 3 decades without getting shut down quickly by the sportsbooks realizing that it's the same person, the same system that's beaten them many times before. Starting when I was 13 years old, I was giving selections on games to many people who were profiting from my picks, and so I was able to make money starting at a teenage era. After my teenage years, when I turned 21 and was allowed to place bets for myself, I went around to multiple sports books with this round-robin system as I was perfecting it. I would catch hot streaks, and in certain instances I would be told that I won more money off my round-robins than that sports book would be making for the entire year. I've tried very many different betting methods, and the method that was most successful for me was using an accelerating round-robin system. I do sometimes take straight bets, or I take some halftime bets as well, but through my history, it's been the round-robin systems that have turned me into one of the largest sports winners and bettors in Nevada history. In the 1990s, I was known to bet over $1 million a weekend, and keep in mind, this is all off starting with a small bankroll. I would say that I've taken under $1,000 and run it into eventually hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars over 100 times in my betting history. And I've taken into $1 million tens of times, and then in the 90s I took it to over $10 million. My pinnacle, when I was introduced to Pinnacle through a friend, I started with $50,000 and ended up with $4 million after 4 days. The ability to accelerate when you're hot dwarfs any periods of time where you're not hot. So this is something that I want to explain a little more in detail for you so you can get excited about how this works. You could take 8 round robins in a row and not hit any of them. And so now you're out 8 units if you consider a round robin a unit. The next one hits, it pays back 7 units. So you're slightly down. And then you turn around and you take, as the system tells you, you take more units on the next round robins. One of the next round robins hits, you're way into the black, and then another one hits, you're at a point where you've made 20, 30 times your money right off the bat, and that's after suffering an extremely cold streak to start. Typically, I don't hit cold streaks right off the bat, but even if you do, and it does happen to me once or twice a season where I'll catch a cold spell, the cold spell only ends up losing 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 units, but the hot streak creates hundreds of positive units. I've done this before many times. I've started with as little as a couple $100 and walked away with hundreds of thousands. I've started with $1,000 and walked away with millions. Now I'm going to explain to you how it works so that you can understand that it's possible for you as well. Is that you can take a really small, relatively small amount, an affordable amount to risk, and end up walking away with hundreds of thousands of dollars in a short period of time. For example, recently, last year, I took $500 and a friend of mine took $300, and we were able to run it up to my end. I ended up with $180,000 and he ended up with about $40,000 in a couple of weeks. Let me tell you how that works, because that sounds, I'm sure, the first time you hear it, like that's impossible. But the accelerator system takes big jumps when there's a hot streak. If you take $500 on a round robin that pays back $3,500, so you've gone from $500 to $3,500, now the system tells you to go ahead and put 1/3 of that profit, the $3,000, onto the next series of round robins. So your next round robin's at $1,000, which pays back $7. Well, if you hit them back to back to back, all of a sudden you've turned $500 into $15,000, $20,000 in three bets. This system comes up with a lot of plays too, so that could actually happen within a couple days. Now you're playing with round robins of $5,000 at a time, and they pay back $35,000. So the next stage of it, you're betting round robins. You're going to have to, in Nevada, you have to spread it out to be able to pull this off, because at this point you're dealing with amounts beyond what most of the casinos will take. But you're taking round robins of $12,000, $13,000, and each one of those, any one of them hits, they pay in the 90s, $90,000 or $100,000. So that's how quickly it happens. So the system takes a small amount of money, and I remember going to Caesar's Palace, the high and mighty Caesar's Palace, thinking that they would continue to take any amount of action, and had the supervisor tell me, your betting limits are now $100. I said, are you kidding me? You're Caesars. You don't do that. And they go, well, with you, we're just really not interested in your action. We recommend you go somewhere else. And I asked at that point, well, who does take action? And they mentioned that Binion's downtown in the Mirage, Steve Wynn's Mirage. So after beating multiple casinos for the full amount that they would allow me to, actually quite likely closing one of the private ones on the Strip, and creating tremendous losses for the others, I stumbled upon the Mirage Sportsbook. And at that point, I really felt like I had died and gone to heaven. When I made my first round robin bet, it paid around $92,000 or $94,000. And I went up to cash the ticket, thinking that sirens were going to go off and supervisors were going to come to approve everything. And a little old lady said to me, do you want chips or cash? I said, are you kidding me? You don't need approval on to pay out this ticket, and you've got the availability to pay me in cash. And she says, chips or cash, sir? And I said, okay, cash. And boom, she paid me. And I remember telling my brother at that point, even though this was a quite homely older lady, I said, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. So I was able to turn a small amount of money into $90-something thousand on my first foray at the Mirage. Then I got to know the assistant sports director and the sports director, and asked them, I said, would you allow me to continue at higher and higher rates on these round robins? And their response was, sure, we take more action here than anybody, and Steve Wynn's not afraid of the action, so go for it. So I said, okay, are you sure? And they said, yeah. Well, that turned into a multi-million-dollar run very, very quickly. So the game changed at that point, and I had to become a casino player to take some of the heat off the sports book for the fact that I was winning so much at the sports book. So I'd go play craps and blackjack or whatever, didn't care whether I won or lost. It was just, the whole point was to take a certain percentage of my profit, throw it back in. I even played high limit slots just to give the sports book some coverage that, hey, I'm a crazy casino player, and you know, I'm going to end up losing the money back in the casino I win in the sports book, so they're going to be fine overall. Then it got to the point where they started saying, well, you have to come in, you know, an hour or two before the game so that we can try to offset your action. And when I would go in, right after I would make my plays, the loudspeaker would announce all of the point changes. Every single team I took, they would move the point spread, try to get people to bet the other side. The way sportsbooks work, most of you may know this, some of you might not. It's an interesting point though. The sportsbooks, what they're trying to do is even out the betting. They really don't care whether one team is more likely to win versus another on the spread. That's where it becomes a game of skill. They just want to make sure that if $100,000 bet on a game, that as close as possible, 50,000 is bet on one side and 50,000 is bet on another. So you have the general public bettors against what are called the Sharpies, or the people that make a living off sports. The fact that many people make a living off sports proves to you that it's a game of skill. There's two games of skill in the casino. That's the sports betting and poker. And both of them, The casino is just taking a rake off the action. They're taking a percentage of the play, and in the sportsbook side, their goal is to even out the betting as much as they can. So for me, that makes it an interesting challenge. I have a strong background in mathematics and statistical analysis and pattern recognition. I score off the charts on IQ tests when it comes to pattern recognition. Since I was very young, I've had a real strong mind for that. Add the fact that I've got 30 years or more experience with games and understanding the emotions of the games and understanding the patterns that teams fall into at different times of the seasons, and whether they react well after a win or react well after a loss. These are all things that fall into patterns over the course of time. Back in the 90s with the Mirage, they allowed a very extreme amount to be played. There's not a whole lot of casinos in Nevada that are like that now, but people have their own abilities to win whatever amount they can through this system. An example that happened more recently was what happened with the Pinnacle, where I turned $50,000 into $4 million, and I resurfaced in the Nevada casinos and turned a small amount of money into a series of $800,000 wins at some major casinos in Las Vegas. And at that point, I was cut way back, limited on my round robins, on my second half plays, these second half plays, which are something that we will be presenting to the group later. I had an 82% win rate for an extended period of time, which they weren't interested in continuing forward with the limits that I had before. So now I'm in a situation where anywhere I go with this system, they recognize they will take the original bets, but then as it starts to accelerate, they won't. I have severe limit restrictions in the casinos compared to the average sports bettor, and that has led me to the belief that the great way to go ahead and take advantage of this system is to let people do it themselves, and I will offer a guarantee that you will win on this program. And now I get to spread the success and spread the fun of winning through this proven system with you. The reason that I'm willing to give these picks is that I'm very well known in the Nevada market, and as I get on a hot streak, the casinos aren't willing to let me run it up the way I used to. Back in the 90s, the Mirage used to be the #1 sports book in Nevada. I believe that they took more action than the rest of the casinos combined. Binion's took some money, but nobody compared to the Mirage. I used to go around to all different types of properties, Bally's, Caesars, back then Little Caesars, the Barbary Coast, and after a significant run, they would stop me from being able to bet any serious amounts. When I went to the Mirage, they said, we'll take your action, and they were willing to take almost anything I wanted to put down. That allowed me to accelerate. I could start with $1,000 or $2,000, get hot, win $15,000, put the $15,000 into play over a series of 2 or 3 round robins, hit one of those, be at $100,000, and move on up from there. I'll show you soon some tickets that won that, for example, were $560,000. I had some other tickets that paid $700,000, $800,000. It was not unusual for me to win $1 million in a weekend. And now that doesn't mean I won $1 million on every weekend. I mean, certainly this system is not a grind system. You will have losing weeks. You will have losing 2 weeks. You might even have a losing 3 weeks. But what I've never seen is this system with the predictions the way I handicap. I've never seen a losing season. I rarely see a losing month, and so much so I'm willing to guarantee that you will see profitable results by using this approach. The key to this approach is to, like poker, you put a small ante into the game. You're betting a percentage, like if you look at it from a parlay standpoint, maybe 1% of your risk capital would go on a parlay, or if you look at it as a total round robin, that would be 4 or 5%. You wait for the patterns to reveal themselves to where the streaks occur. And once a couple round robins hit, you accelerate off those profits and you become much more aggressive with the house money. The second you hit a nice little mini streak, you go ahead and replace your starting capital, or even more, and you're now operating from then on off the profit pool. At the times that I've bet in my life, starting as early as 13 years old, giving picks to a lot of older people that had made money on that and would give me a percentage of the profits, all the way till after I turned 21 and I started betting myself, I've gone in some very extensive runs. It does take patience. It does take the ability to ride the roller coaster without getting too emotional. I always look at things as strictly numbers. There's going to be a certain number of round robins that are going to hit, and when the patterns form, I'm going to go on a streak. I'm going to hit 3, 4, 5 round robins out of 6. Typically, when I get hot, I'll hit 18 out of 20 or even 29 out of 30. A streak I did on Pinnacle, I hit 92 out of 100. And that was the most fun streak that I've seen. When Pinnacle allowed me to bet whatever I wanted, I started with $50,000 and I won $4 million in 4 days. So that's an extreme acceleration, but that's an example of what this system can do. I've been known to take $500 to $1,000 and win $100,000 in 10 days after putting my original bankroll back in my pocket after the second day. Can I promise that you'll make tens of millions of dollars betting on sports like I did? Of course not. Nobody can promise you the future when it comes to betting. But the point remains that sports betting is one of the easiest ways to generate absolute fortunes with minimal work involved. And with my picks, you're going to be following along with the whale that's been proven to be one of the biggest sports betting winners ever. Here's a recent testimonial from somebody that was following the whale's sports betting accelerator round robin system. I'll read a little excerpt from it. I met the sports betting whale a year ago, and he was telling me that he was one of the best bettors in Las Vegas, and that with a little money I could compound it to a very large sum very fast. Being a very conservative and cautious person, I just sat back and monitored his picks. To my dismay, I was shocked because he was on fire. That being said, I started taking his picks. I began with around $500. The first round robins were very small. I think I was doing $30 per team, with it being a 4-team roundie that came to $120 per ticket. I was putting in 2 roundies a day at first. The whale hit the first 5 out of 6 roundies, and that put me up to somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000. After that, I went on doing $200 to $400 per team, depending on how the whale felt about the games that night. Within a 2-month period, I was able to make around $75,000 off an initial investment of $500. I never looked back after that. We went on and on winning. Taking the whale's picks was one of the best investments of 2016 and 2017 for me. Thanks, Mr. Whale. In addition to the example of the testimonial letter I just read an excerpt from, I've helped many of my friends and associates use this system throughout the years. Now I'm excited about offering this same proven opportunity to make money for you. This is going to quite possibly change your life in a very positive way. You're going to be excited about all the games that you get to see and win. You're going to make a lot of profit over the period of time that's going to help increase your lifestyle and enjoyment of your life. And it's going to be one of the easiest ways to make money that I've ever seen, and I hope you share my opinion after you give it a try yourself. Okay. There's really not a way that I could just teach you how to come up with these picks and understand these patterns. It's been decades of me testing different systems over 5 or 10 years to see which systems work and to understand the streak patterns that occur in the different sports and the different teams, understanding the emotions that are involved when you're on a winning streak or when you're on a losing streak, and how teams react in certain situations, and understanding not only how the players react, but how do the coaches react? How do the managers react? How do the pitchers in baseball react? How did teams do after a poor series, and how they do on extended road trips, and the home field and home court advantage that they may or may not have. And these are all patterns that I'm constantly monitoring and watching and looking for the flows. In a sense, it's like looking for the waves. You as a surfer, you start to get to understanding when a good wave is coming. And sometimes you're wrong, but when you catch that right wave, it lasts for a while, and it's quite a thrill. So what you'll see with the handicapping systems that I'm using are a lot of different pattern recognition techniques. I probably scanned for 30 or 40 different types of systems that I know work during different sports at different times of the year. What we're offering here is an opportunity to participate in the same system that I've used since the 1980s and made me the largest bettor in the state of Nevada in the 1990s. This system picks will be given to you on a daily basis with the percentages that you should take of your bankroll. You'll see that it's a consistently low amount until we get hot. Once we get hot, we'll accelerate together. Not only are you playing them, but I'm playing them as well. I don't have the ability to get down as much as I used to when the Mirage was actively taking anything that people wanted to bet back then. That world doesn't exist in Nevada like it did back then, but I can get what I can, and you guys can participate in it as well. Due to that reason, the fact that I am limited to what I can do in this state, I'm very willing to let other people participate around the world. And I look forward to hearing the great results that you all will receive, similar to what I have. Key point, though, to always remember, it's like you're playing poker. You will put a lot of antes in until you're waiting for the right pot and the right opportunity. In my case, it's a streak. Sports betting is a skill if you know what you're doing and you understand pattern recognitions. That's something that I'm very, very strong at. I've studied sports for 35 years, and I know the different patterns that form, and I can see them. I do have a pattern recognition abilities, a high IQ in that category as well. Combine that with all the experience I have, it makes me one of the top handicappers in the country, if not the world. One of the largest sportsbook directors in history often talks about me on a radio show, saying that, without naming my name personally, that loves to talk about the stories back in the Mirage days in the 90s and considers me the best handicapper that he's ever seen. I'm not a boaster. This is the first time that I've ever given any picks out to anyone else. I'm a very private person, but I think it's important that you see that the successes are real so that you can get excited about the opportunities that you can have by sharing in this same approach that I've been using for a long time. We're winning or losing together. We're all in this as basically a team, and it's not fun when we lose, but it's a lot of fun when we win. And at the end of the month, you'll see you have a lot more money than you started with. And when we go on a run, it will be a celebration, because at that point you're going to have extra money that you've never dreamed of. This system truly works. It's guaranteed. Give it a shot and you'll see for yourself. And I'm with you every step of the way. As you're playing, I'm playing. So if I lose on the picks, I'm losing my own money at the same time. That's probably pretty unusual for how these type of systems usually work, because I'm not from this industry. I'm not someone that has done this before. I bet my own money. I win or lose myself, and I've made many, many millions of dollars, and I've bet hundreds of millions of dollars using the system over the last decades. I invite you to join with me on this guaranteed program as soon as you can, and let's start making money together. We're going to have a lot of fun, and you're going to be very pleased you did.